Hey everyone, what's going on? It's Joshieboy. Uh, I think I'm gonna make this video in response to a video by TV Lodge, titled "Is Leveling Too Fast?" In which he does like a World of Warcraft video with a battleground and commentary. I was really kind of. This is gonna be a lot less about this game, about the gameplay you're watching, but I'll maybe talk about it if it's really worth it. Again, I just die a lot to this troll, and that is going to take up a lot of this video. But regardless, so he talked a lot about the good and the bad of leveling really quickly. And I gotta say, personally, I've always been talking about this. I haven't played the game for 7 years as he has. I've played the game for maybe 5 years, but very on and off. When I first played, I played maybe 2 or 3 years straight, a lot in vanilla. So maybe that could be more than 5 years ago. I don't exactly remember the dates. But I ended up playing, a lot in vanilla, some in Burning Crusade, some in Wrath, and then a good amount in Kata, and not really any in Mists except for what you're watching now, which I mean I could be playing for a while, so who knows. But yeah, he talked a really specific thing that a couple things I want to touch on that I kind of put down. Heirlooms. I despise heirlooms so much. I understand that they're kind of a mechanism for skilled players to level their new or alt accounts very quickly. I get that. It makes a lot of sense, and it works really well. But I despise seeing them because I know that character who has them, when I see them at a low level, cares nothing about the early game, and seeing them in the game really just means that they're just going to be 20 levels higher than me in the next 20 minutes or 3 hours or whatever, and that's really disappointing because it makes me think back to vanilla when you'd see a player and he'd be he'd be kind of this guy that you'd almost want to converse with just because you might be in Duskwood or you might be in Stranglethorn Vale and you're like, oh snap, like another player, like I can maybe work with him and eventually dungeon with him, because back then they didn't have the queue for dungeons. So I mean, in that sense, it was very much like it was very much you had to kind of work to make friends to actually do dungeons, otherwise you were left to just kill things or do PvP and queue. So I mean, in that sense, I kind of really miss those days, and so whenever I see heirlooms, I despise the shit out of them. I don't really use them personally. I mean I have a 90. Is that the max level? I forget. I mean, I have a top level. I don't have a ton. I have a couple like 80s and like this and that, but like I don't use heirlooms. I just think that they really just don't. I mean, they ruin the game. I think that with them, you really just don't enjoy leveling, and you don't get to enjoy that experience. Now, likewise, TV Lodge made a really interesting point about whether you like to level or not. Really depends on that. Whether you like the questing and this and that. I mean, in my other rant for part 2, I didn't. I said I didn't like the questing, and it's true. Like honestly, it's kind of contradictory it's kind of contradictory because I said I hate leveling, so why wouldn't I use heirlooms? Why wouldn't I use Scroll of Resurrecting to level faster, or recruiting a friend, or do dungeons and PvP constantly so I can just get to the max level? Well, I guess in this case, in this recording, my rule of thumb is I just hate that kind of stuff because you're just completely blowing through what the designers made for the game. I just feel like that's like awful. That's like you making a piece of music, and people are just like, oh, okay, I'm just gonna like really quickly just listen to like a 15-second like recap of it on iTunes or something and get the whole gist of the song, and I'll know it and I'll say I know it and all this crap. Or I mean, asserting what you will about the music is a different point. But I mean, basically, you're not enjoying what the person created, like the full potential of that, and that really blows, especially as an artist or as someone that makes any kind of creative content. Like it blows to hear that kind of thing about them, and I think Blizzard has kind of just kind of saw this and dealt with it as if they can't do anything about it. But me personally, like just seeing that and being kind of like an artist and someone that creates content of creativity, it just blows to see that happen and that be such a matter of fact in a video game. Um, what else? So he also talks about kind of like the disadvantages of leveling quickly, uh, such as out leveling your zones and skills. I agree with this a lot. I kind of really love going through all the zones, but personally for me, very specifically on this idea, um, I mean, when I make a character, I go to specific zones and just level as much as I can there. I don't try to go to every goddamn zone because I know there's tons. I mean, you could go from, and I don't really remember the zones very well, but I'm pretty sure you can go to like into early like 20s and 30s. I think there's like, you know, 3 or 4 zones you could go to, and if you try to go to all of them, you'd end up like out leveling the third one really quickly. So I mean, I don't really, that's not really a disadvantage I take into consideration, especially because I just hate the quests in those areas, and I don't really feel like any of them are that interesting to do. Oh, and I just killed the troll, by the way, so I'm really happy about that. I'm like dancing on his corpse and such. And then out leveling skills. Now this is something that I kind of was thinking about, because do I really consider it a disadvantage? I mean, nowadays you see so many like either high level characters in a low level zone just getting up mining or skinning, because it's easier. Or let me think. I mean, maybe because obviously the state of the game now is people just do, you know, people just they'll just get their skills up whenever they find convenient, because they find there's no rush to get them up, because they might have a main that just can make money up the wazoo, or the fact that like when you do quests and dungeons now so quickly, you can just make money so fast, like in that manner. So I guess in that respect, I don't really find it to be a disadvantage of quick leveling, but I do find that just the fact that the game is so different now in the ways that you have like queues for dungeons and, you know, just quick access to money so much quicker than you did in vanilla, or like even maybe Burning Crusade. It makes it that skills are just obsolete in this sense. Like I mean, I'm making a character right here, and I'm probably gonna make him mining and smithing, and I think I already have those skills picked up. But I don't see any reason to. Oh no, I don't have them picked up yet. But I don't see any reason to even have those skills really, other than the fact that it's just fun. You know, it's just fun to have. Maybe I'll make a couple bucks, but I'm not really like kind of, you know, I'm not really hanging on that, like to make this character a good character. Like to me, it's just going to be a fun thing to kind of, you know, in a sense, very loosely role play with my cousin. And it makes sense because, I mean, the added skills for having those abilities is good for a warrior. Do I think it's actually important, like that I need those skills? Do I worry that I'll level them? No, not at all. I mean, I don't feel like I need these skills at all. In vanilla, it's a completely different mindset. I would have said completely so, because, you know, it was so much harder to make money. It was so much harder to do dungeons. You need to know people. I mean, I could rant on the whole idea of like vanilla WoW versus like WoW today, and how many things I just dislike so much about it. But yeah, I mean, in that sense, I don't really feel like out leveling skills or zones is really a disadvantage. I don't feel like there are really any disadvantages to leveling quickly, other than the fact that it just you aren't enjoying the game that Blizzard made and put all their time into. I mean, they didn't, you know, just crapshoot this game in like a couple of hours and make like this massive world that people have been playing for whatever amount of years this game has been out. I don't know, and I'm not going to just give you a random year. But so I mean, to just quick level and have all these goddamn things that Blizzard is putting in makes me like want to hit my head against the keyboard in confusion, because why are you like almost advocating people to like skip through content that you've made? And if so, then why aren't you out there like making a game that people aren't going to be able to do this to? Like normally I would think that like in this example, they would be like, oh, okay, well, we're just going to kind of trash what we made and just allow people to rush through it and enjoy the game at the later stages, but we're going to be coming out with a game that you have to enjoy all of, that we're really proud of. Because when you do this kind of thing, it makes me think you're almost not proud of the game anymore. You know, it's just about keeping your inflow of cash rather than actually um, uh, keeping the content good. And so in that respect, I kind of frown at that whole practice that Blizzard's doing. But I mean, it's hard to say whose fault it is. Like, is it the fault of the person that's allowing it, or is it the fault of the people that are doing it? Because so many players now, especially that haven't played vanilla, that only have played like the newer like expansions, they just think that it's totally fine because they don't see like any reason to not do it. It's like paralleling this with like real life. Like real life with some of the like younger generation, they use technology so much, and they just think it's fine because it's there. But like I'm like 21, so I grew up with technology just kind of becoming like this fad, and like so many things were being introduced, and I kind of can understand like why I shouldn't be like on Facebook 24 fucking 7, or why I shouldn't be on Twitter a ton, or Instagram. So I mean, in that sense, these new players for World of Warcraft are just, you know, they're like, oh, dungeon queue, that's fine, that's easy, this is like standard. And like, no, I mean, in vanilla this was not even a thing, and I appreciated that. I feel like the game was so much more immersive back then because you had to really know who you were with. Now you join a dungeon and it's like, what's up, let's do this. 15 minutes later, dungeon's done, you all disband, you never see them again. It's so impersonal. I hate it. You know, everything about that is just like so it's so like annoying. Like I want to remember who I'm with. Like otherwise, why am I playing this game? Like I know a lot of people have their own reasons for playing a video game, but for me it's always been to kind of, you know, have the social experience. That's why I play MMOs, because it's really fun to like work with people online from your computer that are on another computer, because it's just like a really interesting idea. Because an MMO being like a massive multiplayer online world, you play a character, and you don't have to necessarily even roleplay for this to happen, but everyone's like personality in real life will shine through their character in one way or another, even if they're not trying to roleplay. I think that's always been a really fascinating thing for me. And now that everything's so impersonal with like how you interact with other players, you don't really get that side of the game, especially in World of Warcraft. I would go so far to say that that's a lot of the state. That's the state of a lot of games in the MMO genre. But I'm still like, I have faith in games. Like I played Secret World recently, another MMO. I would have gotten much more into it if I didn't feel like the questing was so generic. I thought the world was really interesting. I thought it was really cool to be able to like talk to people, and I thought especially the perk system was really good, or whatever you want to call it, talent system. The fact that you could do whatever you wanted. But we're not going to talk about Secret World. So I mean, yeah, I mean that's kind of my opinion on all of it. I do feel like fast leveling is forced, as TV Lodge mentions. I do feel like it's very much forced. There's not really any way to get around it. I mean, you just get more experience in general for your kills. So in that sense, it is being completely forced down your throat. And if you want to get good items, you have to do good items. But those give so much experience that, you know, you have to recognize that you are just kind of, you know, gaining 2 levels for just doing a simple dungeon that would have maybe only given you like half of that, or a fourth of that back in vanilla. Or maybe it would have given you that still, but the fact that it wasn't that you could just queue and like just join a group like almost instantaneously, made it not really worthwhile. Nowadays it's like, oh, I want to gain 2 levels, I want to get out of this zone, or I don't want to do these quests. Okay, I'll just dungeon. Oh, 2 levels, 15 minutes, cool. I'm on to my next thing. And that's so weird, because that like almost is the, you know, the epitome of like, or not the epitome, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. It like embodies exactly what technology does for like real life today. It makes everything instant, you know, it makes everything really quick. And that's so annoying, because like this is exactly like Blizzard is exactly like embodying that kind of mindset that I feel like the world has today, that everything comes really naturally, very quickly, very artificially, is how technology can just kind of change everything in convenience terms, and that sucks. I hate that, and everyone's kind of a slave to that, and the more convenience you bring, the more people become a slave, and the more people rely on this, because convenience is so crucial to so many people. I mean, especially the younger generation that grow up with this just kind of at their will, or like, so when they grow up, when it's so easy to control this, I mean, it's so easy for them to become addicted and to become, you know, slaves to the technology. And maybe I'm just making a rant that doesn't really matter because, you know, this is just how life is. I mean, you look at the world in any like comparing two times in history, and there's always going to be these kind of like changes. But I don't like them, and I wish there were ways to get around them. And I kind of understand that it's not really easy, and more than likely this is just kind of like the way things will be. And hopefully, I mean, coming back to not at a grander scale level, coming back to Blizzard, I just hope that when they come out with their next expansion or next MMO, they work backwards or try to like not continuously make the game more easy and like less about, you know, taking your time and enjoying everything. Because I like that, and I guess that they don't have a huge consumer basis that appreciates that, because otherwise they would be doing that. But I don't know. I guess that's why I play other MMOs, and I don't get too like hooked up on World of Warcraft, because I just understand that they're not, you know, they're not fulfilling my interests in the way that I'd like. So I mean, yeah, guys, I hope you enjoyed this. I do want to thank TV Lodge, because I thought that his video was really interesting, and it gave me a lot of ideas in this video. So yeah, until then, I hope you guys really enjoyed this, and hopefully you can comment and share your opinion. But yeah, have a good one, guys. See ya.